Bear poop. Larry.
Did we get Larry yet? Okay.
Nope.
Larry Glass.
Hey, Larry Glass, representing SAFE and the Trinity Collaborative. I'm up on South Fork Mountain.
Great. Thank you, Larry. We got Keith. Basho.
Hey everybody, my name is Basho Parks. I'm here with the Lower Trinity Prescribed Burn Association.
Perfect. Welcome, Basho. Good to see you. Megan, Killeen.
Hi everyone, I'm with the Watershed Research and Training Center.
Let's see. Dan Dogert.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Dan and I'm here with Northern Valley Catholic Social Service in Redding, California.
Great. Thank you, Dan. John Brower. Sorry.
Hi, I'm a resident of Junction City, and I'm the local Junction City community, I guess, Firewise group.
Great. Thank you, John. Welcome. Bethany.
Stephanie might be in Susan.
She might. Okay. All right. Let's see. Sophia.
Hi, everybody. Sophia here with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council.
Great. Thank you. And welcome, Sophia. Okay. We've got Michaela. Michaela Corporation. She's unmuted, but we can't hear you. Regina.
Hello, everybody. Gina Moon here with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council and Salyer Ambassador for South Fork Road and Salyer.
You're welcome. Okay, I think way up in the top left there. Is that Charlie Hoffman?
Full house.
Oh,
Full
sorry.
house.
Oh, I was way off. All right, Charlie. I can't see the name all the way from here.
It's all good. Charlie Holthouse. I'm the neighborhood ambassador for the Rush Creek area.
Great. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are.
All right, here I am. It's Mike Bertel with McCullough Corporation. I represent A1 Tree Service and A1 Forestry Group.
Number for you.
Okay. Okay, Mary, you want to jump in?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mary Fleury, Downriver Volunteer Fire Company.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Chris Losey.
I'm sorry.
Chris Losey.
Chris.
Hi there, Chris Losey, representing Flora in Weaverville.
Great, thank you, Chris. And then, is this Stefano?
Hey, Stefano, I'm representing Burnbot Forestry and Vegetation Management Company out of Prescribed Fire and out of Redding, Medford, and Placerville.
Great, welcome. Did we get Deborah Harris? Okay, Deborah Harris.
Hi, Deborah Harris from North Coast Air Quality. I'm happy to be here. See everybody.
Hey, welcome. Okay, I had that on my list. I think that's everybody. And then we've got Joe Cox has joined us in the room. Anybody on the board that I may have not may have missed for a check-in announcement?
Sitting behind you, Pat Frost.
When'd you get here? And Pat Frost in the room. Okay. Well, I think that's everybody. So welcome.
Over here, Kenneth Baldwin, Consulting Forester.
Man, I'm slacking today.
I sneaked in while you were looking out.
Yeah, that's okay. We're all welcome. Okay. Who's that? Where?
Columbro. Have you had an opportunity to introduce yourself yet, our Columbro?
No, I have not. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. Robert Columbro with the Tehama County RCD. I'm the county coordinator for the Firewise Council.
Okay, well, welcome. I don't have them on my list.
Thank you.
Okay, so that'll take care of the welcome and introductions. Do we have any, if everybody's seen the agenda, Skylar's got it posted on the chat there. If anybody has any additions or changes to today's agenda. And hearing none. Do we have anything for discussion? We're just going to go right into our letter of support.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Under item number 4, under grants, we have a request for letter of support for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District's requesting a letter of support for the proposal of the CAL FIRE Wildfire Resilience Block Grant. We have a copy of the letter.
It's on the other side of the agenda. I was trying to conserve paper this week. And then I can share it for our folks on Zoom.
Philip, do you know how much this grant's from?
I'm sorry?
How much money is in the grant?
Skylar will have all that. I guess I have all that information.
Good question.
This is just a letter of support from us.
Okay, does everyone online see this all right? Okay, so, thank you. So this is a letter of support request for the Trinity County RCD's Forest Health Department. Bethany's on Zoom right now, but she has also another engagement, so she should be able to answer any specific questions, but I wanted to open with a broad overview for what they're asking for. So this proposal is to offer support for non-industrial forest landowners who may have been impacted by fire in like planning recovery efforts, site prep, and reforestation activities. And so that's what the funding would go towards, and towards like outreaching to those landowners. The concern is without this support, they might not have, if, for example, their properties were touched by fire, the adequate like planning knowledge or like guidance to help restore their properties. So there's like that concern that it could be taken over by brush or the other negative impacts from the wildfire. So that's what this proposal would be going towards. And I can answer any questions, and Bethany is also available if there are any specific questions.
So something like the Helena, is there a time frame? I mean, something like the Helena
How old the
fire
fire?
was
How
a
old the
while
fire?
ago. Yeah, how old is the fire?
I believe it's for recent fires. Let me see. Bethany, do you have a more, do you know what the time frame is for the fires?
Do you have a map of the project?
I do not. I think right now it's sort of broad, like they're gonna do outreach for landowners once the funding is secured. Oh, okay. Hold on.
This is Jerry, and I think somebody asked, but I didn't hear the response. So do you not ask for a specific amount, or do you come back once you have kind of reached out to find out what the needs are?
Here, let's see. Okay. I'm coming. Oh, she's coming. Bethany's coming to answer the questions.
Okay.
Okay. All right. She's just
walking over.
Here she is.
She's right
Okay,
there.
we'll give her.
Hi. Sorry, I'm playing double duty trying to go to an NCRP thing. It's also right now. Did we talk about this at all yet?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're on. Questions.
Yes, ask me your question.
So, I mean, I know there are people still trying to clean up from like the Helena fire, so how
Yeah.
far back does it go in terms of fires?
We specifically identified Helena, Monument, and River as kind of the main targets. I think
Not the August.
I left it open to the August. I think
Okay.
my ask's a little over $1 million, and I think it just gets big really fast.
Yeah.
But those are areas that I
And
know
somebody
there's been
asked-
really limited resources. for
Someone
fire.
asked, what do you, so you're asking for about $1 million?
Yeah, a
Okay.
little over $1 million.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Skylar described it as dealing with site prep and replanting and, but not
Maybe
removal of biomass.
Maybe some hazard trees, but no commercial
Well, I
removal.
figure the fires are too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah,
But at least it can deal with the accumulated fuel.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, they said no prescribed burning, but we can burn slash, so pile burning.
Okay.
Any other qualifications for an applicant or landowner? Or is that?
I'm not sure what
She didn't-
Skylar described. The way I've written it is to have community meetings in Junction City and in Coffee Creek and try to screen for some folks that have not been good candidates for CFIP and EQIP based on the resources they have available, or having properties that are too small to qualify.
Okay. So no lower limit on property
No,
size.
It's 3 acres. I
3
think is the
acres.
lower limit, but
Okay.
it doesn't have the 20-acre like CFIP.
Okay.
And then we're not stuck with CFIP cost reimbursement rates or EQIP rates, so it could work for some people that can't afford to participate in those programs.
Okay.
Cool.
Seems like we might have additional questions from Chris.
Thanks for your patience as I find the control. You mentioned this was for about $1 million, and I was just reading and I just went to a presentation about oh gosh, there's so many names for these grants. The California Fire Safe Council State Fire Capacity grant. Is
Yeah.
this a separate grant is this a separate grant or is this the same grant? Because I was under the impression this was the same grant, but maybe it's a different grant.
This is a different grant. This one's directly from CAL FIRE, not through the California Fire Safe Council. And I think it's only open to RCDs because they want, well, RCDs or other special districts because they want the grantees to be able to do CEQA. So CAL FIRE doesn't have to do it.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I will be in communication with you. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I know you have some contacts in some of those fire footprints that you've worked with. So I would love to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Bethany, this isn't to do with the letter or the thing, just to understand, there's a formal type conversion that takes place on people's property if they don't properly clean them up.
Type conversion is referring to the potential kind of vegetation state change from forests to more like chaparral, which can happen with climate change if you're not reforesting and you don't have natural regeneration. Doesn't necessarily, it depends on the conditions. But it's
So it's more of a
concern in this
description, not a
area.
formal type.
Yeah,
It's
Okay.
it's a like ecological process.
like a vegetation type.
Yeah. Not like
You might want to specify that vegetation.
yeah.
And Dan, you had a question?
Yeah, excuse me. I was wondering if this was gonna include community outreach regarding emergency preparedness material.
I think it's fairly specific in scope to the post-fire landowner work, but we would be planning to have 2 community meetings, which I always think it's good when we have community meetings if we loop in things like providing, the resources that you all have available, the other resources that we have available through our other programs. So that would be the way that might be included.
I would think also these are properties where people are either intending to or are building new homes. You would want to inform them about the best ways to do that for the, to be more resilient for the next fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're looking to help out where we can, and we do get to Trinity County, so that's the reason why I was asking, because we do a lot of outreach for that.
Yeah, that's great, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding this letter of support? Nothing in the room, nothing on. Okay.
I'm gonna add a word and get you a copy.
Okay, so we're gonna do we're just gonna do a quick update to add
The word vegetation before type conversion.
okay. So I'll just ask for a vote if there's any opposition to the signing on of this letter of support. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and sign it.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll go on to the next item, Fire Safety Council Coordinator update.
Phil, if I
sorry.
just
Sure.
might jump in on the grants, just more a generalized kind of thing, just to kind of float out there for people. So I'm on the California Fire Safety Council Board of Directors, and we met yesterday. And this is just something to think about. I mean, right now, today, the last couple of years, the money's been flowing really well from the state for fuel reduction, fire safe, landscape, defensible space, all the whole menu of kinds of projects. But that could change this year.
The budget.
So, the state looks like they're $78 billion in the hole this year. And so they're looking at where they're going to make up that $78 billion gap. CAL FIRE programs in particular could be at risk on some level. The other thing that we heard from our legislative person, a board member who does legislative stuff, is that we haven't had a really bad fire year in a couple of years. And so the legislators are like, what are they focused on? You think, what's the disaster du jour? Flooding, debris flows. So it could be that a lot of the CAL FIRE money comes through the climate, California Climate Initiative, but floods and debris flows are all about this from the same kind of issue. So there could be a tightening down of funding over the next couple of years. Just be aware, and if you, as individuals, if you ever have the opportunity to chat with your legislator, let them know how important all this CAL FIRE money has been to Trinity County and to their constituents.
Great idea. Thank you. Yeah, we kind of see all that in the pipeline.
Hate to be Debbie Downer.
Well, no, I think it's we can all see it's pretty obvious with the way the state's in right now. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to Fire Safety Council Coordinator update. Tyler.
We've had another busy month. We're currently in the process of planning 3 neighborhood ambassador events for March, April, and May. Since our last meeting, we've gotten 2 local area advisor applications that I think are being pushed along.
Yeah, they're gonna go on to Novus tomorrow, and so we should make the next board meeting, which would be the one in March, the first week in March.
Awesome.
They'll go to the board on that.
So if the county board approves, that means that we would have new local area advisors for Burnt Ranch and Post Mountain.
Yeah.
Let's see, planning continues on the Firewise Fair. We've solidified the date to be May 11th at from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Hayfork Park. And so we're going to be doing some flyering and outreach next week for that, along with our art contest that we have. I have some little half sheet flyers in the room with information on the fair and on the art contest. Anyone is feeling artistic, we have a $50 prize. Your art would be converted into a magnet and included in the county CWPP update. The theme is showing how communities rebuild after fire. We've been scheduling community wildfire protection plan community meetings to happen in May and June. We should have flyers solidified and going out with that other outreach materials next week. Miles and I are going to be going to a community meeting in Ruth. There's a watershed center research student who's been focusing on fire recovery in the southern county. So she's going to be hosting a meeting with some community members talking about her findings so far. So we're going to be attending that and discussing what would be the best date for a community meeting down there for them, because she might be coming back in May. So we're thinking, like, if we can align that at the same time, that'd be pretty cool. Let's see, we've been in Lewiston Elementary School this month. Miles and Duncan, our other outreach and education coordinator at RCD, have been working with students, class about 20 so students, and doing Firewise education lessons, which has been awesome. Evacuation routes continue to be developed and refined. We hope to include our findings and recommendations on the evacuation routes and plan in those May and June community meetings, so we can get community input on those before we bring them forward. On the same note of plans, we haven't heard back from Cal OES yet on the hazard mitigation plan. So we're hoping no news is good news, and we'll have a public review soon for that. I think after Cal OES, it'll go to FEMA, but we're thinking, like, if Cal OES has no problems with it, hopefully FEMA has no problems with it, and we can push it to public review, get it adopted, be in compliance. And let's see, we had a site tour on February 6th for the Greater Willow Creek Community Wildfire Defense Grant Project in Suzie Q Road and Trinity Village. So we'll be having like a video we're putting together to talk about what that project is and what's included in that, to hopefully get more applicants once we start the outreach for that. And then finally, California Fire Safe Council has let us know that they're opening up for another round of county coordinator funding. So we will be applying for that to continue our programming. And I can answer any questions.
So I guess the question is maybe more to Pat, you know, what's the likelihood that we would continue to get California Fire Safe Council funding for Skylar?
Oh, that's real good.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah, that money's already in hand.
For this letter that we're.
No,
Or pardon me, but for this,
for the open application to continue.
Oh,
That grant's already a signed grant with Cal Fire.
okay, great.
So we're good for this year.
Anything that's got signed.
Yeah, because we want to keep
Good.
Skylar. So I'm like,
You know,
okay.
certainly for the county coordinator program, which the California Fire Safe Council thinks is probably the top priority that we have, is to have a county coordinator in every county. And right now there are only, I think, 5 that don't have them. So our efforts to secure permanent funding, continue, so that it's not every other year, have to go back to the legislature. So we're going to continue that effort. So it's important to let folks know, that have, that vote on budgets, that this county coordinator program has really, moved the ball down the field in our county. Whether, unfortunately, we're losing Assemblyman Wood, but he's going to be voting on this budget. So if you have an opportunity to converse with him, it's worth it.
Thank you.
And Senator McGuire, Senate Pro Tem.
Yeah. No. Cool. Okay.
Just not Skylar.
Any questions for Skylar? Seeing none, we'll move on. So we'll go ahead and head on to project updates.
I just want to
Oh,
point
sorry.
out, so Heidi joined us.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Heidi. You want
Hello,
to
hi. Another, got a little late, so I apologize, but I'm here now.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you for joining us. Okay, so we'll start with project updates. BLM, I don't see.
Right behind you.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking on the board and it's like, didn't see him sign in or. Yeah, that would make more sense.
So BLM update, it's been well over a month since we've been burning any files in Trinity County just because of the weather and the production stuff, but we haven't forgot about that. We're gonna get right back into it. As soon as we get some better weather, kind of like a early spring, hopefully. Can't tell off the top of my head how many acres we actually have left in here. I know we have Little Browns Creek, and there's some piles over in Indian Creek and a couple left in Lewiston. That'll be our main priority come some better weather. Burning in those and get those completed is the plan. We're about just over 50% of our total acre piles for like Trinity and Shasta County. So we're tracking about halfway through the burn season. So with some more luck and some better weather, we should be able to complete that. So we're tracking on that. Projects, the Weaverville Community Forest Year 1 site that has started and already completed. I think it was done within 2 weeks. I think it looks good out there. It went well. They probably could have took a little more, but just with the, riparian areas and all that, and we kind of told them to take it easy on there, so moving along. Also, Little Browns Creek Unit 4, that's going to be starting up on next Monday. I'll be out there to meet the contract crew, same contract crew as last year. That was working out there springtime. So they'll be working out there. I'll meet them, give them paper, give them a lowdown. Should be pretty turnkey. And all that should be on there. The Reading Indian Creek area, the expansion is the hot topic that I've been talking with people about. I had a conversation with Bethany. I was gonna have one with Randy, but that's still moving forward. We kind of dropped on the priority list for our Deeper team. They had some stuff come up that became our priority, but that's just about across the finish line being signed and being approved. And then we have a deal with the watershed and RCD to get that project done. It'll be mastication, majority of the top flatland, cut and pile on the slopes where the masticator can't go. The slope part will be RCD, mastication will be the watershed. Talked to my bosses, kind of did a small budget meeting. I don't handle the money, but they do have money set aside to put into the watershed to complete the expansion of the Reading Indian Creek and move forward some other projects and things. That's all I have for the BLM project status. If there's any questions, I can maybe fill something if I forgot about it.
It's cool. Okay. Hi, Mike. Sorry, yeah. Okay, let's see. We don't have anybody from Cal Fire. We don't have anybody from Cal Fire. Nobody from Caltrans. Higham Pond Fire Safe Council.
Sorry, Blake, I was in another.
Okay, welcome.
Okay. Lower Trinity PBA Basho. In the
Hey
field.
everybody, thanks for having me. It's been a minute and it's really good to see a lot of familiar faces out there and hear about some exciting developments in the Trinity County world. So in January, our PBA was invited to Cal Poly Humboldt for a presentation in conjunction with Watershed Research and Training Center to address biomass utilization. We've been attending talks and webinars with Watershed Hayfork on woody feedstock initiative statewide, as well as cogen power supply systems for both Greater Willow Creek and our neighbors down in Hoopaw Valley. We were invited back another 2 times as this graduate level engineering class completes their capstone project. Along the next 2 months, we've got 15 acres of prescribed burns planned, and with smoke management plans and burn plans in place. We're hoping for some good windows, but won't be so mad if we just get some more rain too. Just like a little fearful of the green up and the veg in the spring after that. We've recently secured a $15,000 technical assistance grant from NCRP for watershed capacity building and development, which is exciting for Lower Trinity and Willow Creek here. We've also begun earnest grant writing for a $600,000 CAL FIRE Forest Health implementation grant for fuels reduction and prescribed fire on both state and federal responsibility lands here in the greater Willow Creek area for mostly the South Fork drainage up to Surprise Creek from the confluence, the Friday Ridge and Brandon Mountain areas. Will be where we're looking. Western flank of Willow Creek is where fire will come, as we have been flanked by every other compass point in the last 3 years. In our capacity as an emergency services hub in Willow Creek, last week we accepted a pallet of MRE boxes from Food for People to be stored with our 2 existing pallets of the same. We now have inventory to feed 500 people for 3 contiguous weeks from our facility in Willow Creek. We did the CWDG, the Community Wildfire Defense Grant for Greater Willow Creek walkthrough with TCRCD and our adjacent local organizations and partners. We're excited to be pre-planning and contracting and going through regulatory fine-tuning as we get ready for requests for proposals and requests for qualifications. And get some boots on the ground implementation going, hopefully by the latter part of this year. And then finally, well, I guess 2 more things. The PBA has chosen the Eureka Economic Development Committee to run HERD on a workforce development program that we're going to have here in local Willow Creek, so we can get as many contractors on both sides of the Trinity and Humboldt County lines on those 2 respective contractor lists. Again, for this $5 million that we got for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant and ongoing, we just feel like there's a lot of woodcutters out here that might not know how to administratively jump through hoops, but they deserve to be at that table for that work too. Excited about that. And then last month, the PBA submitted and were successfully approved by the Humboldt County Fire Safe Council for an additional 8,000 acres of CWPP polygons, again, on both the state and federal responsibility lands on that western flank, kind of the Willow Creek watershed, if you will, going from Titlow and Brandon Mountain all the way down to the center of town. So thanks so much.
All right, Basha, great.
Ask real quick.
Yes.
Follow up on the contractor list that you mentioned. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, so I'm just wondering, you'd mentioned fellers, but does that include heavy equipment operators? That type
Yeah,
of...
we're going to be, we're looking at, you know, in the same way that Viper sometimes works or some of these larger bids and proposals go, like you might have a prime and a sub sort of situation where you have a company with heavy equipment, say, and then they sub out to brushers and hand crew.
Right.
So as a potential scenario. So I'm not, you know, just to be honest, I'm not as worried or concerned about the heavy equipment ops and LLC owners in our area. I feel like a lot of them are pretty savvy, 8A and other compliance to get on these lists. It's more like the woodcutters and, you know, the folks that might have got left behind by the logging industry and whatnot, that we're really primarily concerned with just getting some of these boys and girls up to speed and on these lists because, like I said, they might not have the administrative savvy, and but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to get a crack at this work as well.
That makes sense. Great. Thank you.
Hey, any other questions for Basha? Seeing none, we'll move on. Deborah, with air quality.
Excuse me, I had a little technical difficulty. I really don't have any big updates from air quality wise. I did want to kind of throw something out there, get attendees input. I have had some folks come in to get burn permits, and they have their properties are impacted by the wildfires over there along the 299. And they're wondering about upping the pace and scale on burning on their property because they've had some impacts from the wildfires that have occurred in the last few years. And from my participation in this meeting with the Trinity County Fire Safe Council and the Humboldt County Fire Safe Council, I've been referring folks to the group. I just wanted to kind of ask if there would be someone specific that the group would like me to have them contact as far as getting in on some of these grant funded projects, or at least finding out more about their options to address the fuels on their property.
Deborah, you can share my contact information.
Okay. Okay. I did give them the Fire Safe Council and the RCD over there, but I want to make sure that they get worked into this group because there's a lot of horsepower at this table and on the meeting, and everybody deserves to kind of get the information they need to get their projects on the map. So thank you.
Okay, any
Oh,
other-
excuse me. Sorry, Phil. I wanted to ask BLM, and let you guys know, I'm going to be on vacation next week. So if anybody's planning to burn, please talk to me on Monday so I can set you up for the week I'm gone so you don't have to have a problem. I'd rather get everybody taken care of and so they're not scrambling at the last minute. And that's it. Sorry.
I should say go ahead and burn next week.
Free burn day. Okay, let's see where we at here. Okay, so anybody from Norrell? NRCS? So do we have Chris? Chris Paul? Okay. Larry was safe.
Yeah, we submitted extensive comments to the Forest Service's scoping process for the Northwest Forest Plan. We called for increased use of prescribed fire and cultural burning, along with creating an extensive network of roadside shaded fuel breaks. Hopefully they pay attention. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Seeing none. Anybody from Southern Trinity Fire Safe Council? If there's anybody for a couple months. Seeing none. Sierra Pacific Industries? Tehama Glen Fire Safe Council?
That'd be me. Sorry.
There he is. Okay.
I am new. I came on board in Tehama in January 31st. So my intent is to attend as many of these meetings with the surrounding counties, just to try to figure out where everybody's going with this. And I know there's a bit of confusion, for lack of better words. But anyways, that's my intent. And so hopefully everybody can bear with me and bring me on board as soon as possible.
Sure. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert, what did you do before the Fire Safe Council, if you don't mind me asking?
Started off with CAL FIRE. I was a firefighter. I worked Helitack for 3 seasons. I was a FEMA employee reviewing projects that to make sure that we were in compliance with federal environmental regulations. I have worked as an environmental director and emergency manager for 6 different tribes in both Northern California and Nevada. So hopefully what I bring to my position is going to help everyone.
Thank you. Good. Glad to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Trinity Center Fire.
Let's see, well, so two things. One is just, we're still proceeding with our fuel management and fire response plan with the NCRP grant. Hopefully we'll have done by the end of March, according to contract. The other thing was, so Kevin from the Forest Service may, I apologize if I'm stealing your thunder, but I did want to report out for the partners meeting last week that the Forest Service had, where, because we were there, the Forest Service was giving us an update on the wildfire crisis strategy, in terms of where they had in 2023 spent last year's money. So a little bit of confusion there. I mean, they've covered 12,500 acres. A lot of that is already burned areas that they have cleaned up, and the rest of it is basically encumbering the funds. So they haven't actually implemented some of that 12,500 acres, but they've at least signed the contract to do the work, like at Petty John and stuff. So it was really good. Everybody was kind of trying to exchange information. It sounded very similar to the Fire Safe Council, in terms of, you know, telling people where the future projects were, what they were doing, just trying to explain, you know, where that money was going to be going. There's $29 million for 2024 that starts implementing some projects like the Trinity Camps project, the Bowerman Cooperative Fuels project, and then it has a long list of planning things, projects. I think that $29 million is going to go away pretty fast. And then the second part of the meeting was kind of walking us through how land tender might work. And so, yeah, that was kind of an interesting exercise. Anyway, I just want to, other people like Watershed Center and Forest Service may have more updates on that meeting, but anyway, it was a good, I really appreciated the Forest Service putting it together and kind of explaining where they were at and letting us all talk to each other.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, any questions for Carol? Okay, we'll move on to Board of Supervisors, Jill.
Okay, just a couple of things. First of all, I too attended that meeting, and the piece of land tender, I guess I got to the end of the path, the rocky way, because the information that was passed out, asking people to kind of rate, what areas do you want to prioritize? What would you like to, what do you see as the priority? And then they adjust the software and it spits out, well, then here's where you should spend your money. So the gal from CAL FIRE that was there, I found to be really helpful. And from the standpoint that she said, well, because as we all know, that I didn't put it together, funds that come in are specified. So you can tweak the settings to say, if this is the need for this money to be spent, then where would it best be implemented? But really from my standpoint, my question was, why is safety on the list? Because I thought that should just be not on the list. That why would we even have this and be doing this if we weren't concerned about our safety?
Should be a given.
It should be a given, exactly. And I still don't understand why it is a piece of the software that can be
given a lower priority.
Thank you. It just doesn't make sense to me. So it still doesn't make sense. But what I learned is I have to raise my voice and say, from the Board of Supervisors, we want to see safety as a priority. So I guess I just would throw that out to say, could we all say that safety is a priority, and then, you know, whatever the different priorities are that you see or what have you, and there's many of them I don't understand, you're gonna rate biological and cultural and all of the different things that are important. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just to really encourage your participation in the upcoming community meetings that will happen with regard to the communities that will get their own individual attention for the general plan update. So meetings for Lewiston and Junction City are happening on Monday, March 4th at 5:30. And for Weaverville and Douglas City are happening on Thursday, March 14th at 5:30. And those respective locations, you can ask me or find them on the Trinity 2050 website. But speaking into those, not only from your personal opinions as community members, but also from your perspectives, you know, from these positions is really important.
So Jill, do you know, I mean, they've sent out emails about at least the Lewiston and Junction City meeting. But are they doing, what other outreach? Are they doing things in the newspaper?
Yeah, there's supposed to be newspaper advertising, and then hopefully, you know, spreading the word to just put your email address on that Trinity 2050 website so that you personally get updates as to everything that gets put out is important. And it's going to start coming more quickly. They're ramping up and starting to work on the zoning update. You know, these things are kind of running on parallel tracks. And so you're just going to want to keep your eyes open for all of those updates. And then when it's time for public comment on this, it's going to be important to be up to speed so you know what you want to say.
Thanks.
Okay, any questions for Board of Supervisors?
Heidi, do you want to ask Heidi if she has any?
Heidi,
do you have any updates?
No, I'm good. Just happy to be here.
Okay, and then that meeting's at 5 p.m.?
all four of them are happening at 5:30.
5:30, okay. As a corresponding meeting at 6:30 that night, so I'm trying to figure out if I can make both of them. Okay, Jerry with the collaborative group.
A scheduled field trip for last Friday had been canceled just because the ground was too saturated to be driving around the woods. It was reported at the last meeting about the wildfire alert cameras. Negotiations and some NEPAs are still happening. I wanted to invite everyone for the next collaborative meeting. Kevin Anderson from Digital Path will be giving a demonstration on the capacity of the wildfire camera program and technology. So that's the third Friday of the month, starts at 10 o'clock. The agenda has not come out, so I don't know when Kevin is going to be on the agenda. But we've been talking about wildfire alert cameras for a while, and we really have not seen the depth of what it can do. So I just extend that invitation. And if you're not already on the list for the collaborative, maybe get in touch with Kelly Sheen and have him include your email address.
And those are Zoom also as an option.
Yes, yes.
Okay, any questions for Jerry? Okay, moving on to natural resources, David.
Already?
Yeah.
Great, excellent. So kind of a smattering of things to discuss here, I suppose, not in any particular order. So one is the evacuation routes as those are being developed. I just wanted to again loop in with you, Skylar. I know the question has been asked about county roads and what condition county roads are in. I'm thinking of one specific example up on Coffee Creek where half the road is gone and has been for a while. And so that's one that you should be able to make note of. And that may well be fixed, of course, through the life of the plan, depending on what your update schedule may be once that is published. But regardless, that should be an ongoing discussion for current road conditions. So I'll leave that there. Another potential topic of interest for this group is the Trinity County, of course, I think I've mentioned before, has an agreement with the Forest Service, the Good Neighbor Authority Agreement. One item in that, or is there a question? No, okay. One item in that is weed disposal, noxious weed disposal. So I'm trying to identify some locations where a variety of groups, including Watershed Center and RCD, that are going and removing invasive weeds such as along roadsides, have a place to go with them. And so relatively minor issue, yet can be relevant to fire starts along roadways, because one of the biggest reasons to be addressing weeds, things like Scotch broom that are brushy and flammable and need to be gotten rid of. So I just wanted this group to be aware of that and kind of put the offer out for anyone here in this room or online, of course, that is interested in that, the idea of weed disposal or weed removal, of how you do that and where those stations need to be located. Right now, I'm looking at a location in Hayfork and one in Weaverville, just because those are somewhat centrally located, but the argument could be made that others would be needed. So please reach out to me. Again, I'm on this list, ecolbeck.trinitycounty.org, if you have any input there. I'll also say that there is a weed working group that I am part of that will be meeting in the next couple of weeks, which is basically a group of individuals and organizations that are involved with weed removal. And again, the idea of how we treat weeds, both on state highways and county roads, and eventually perhaps even private roads, is of importance to the idea of fire starts and how we're doing vegetation management on those linear features. So if that's of interest to this group. I will say that the Natural Resources Division is still working through essentially my capacity to work with the RCD and Watershed Center on developing projects that require NEPA. And so that includes, for example, the Bowerman project, and one where I've been involved with that to a limited degree because that's close to the end, but there's a number of other projects that are slated with RCD and Watershed Center that I'm trying to help facilitate through their IDT, so their interdisciplinary team reviews for specialist reviews for NEPA compliance. So short of going through a long list of potential projects in the future that Trinity County, this division will be involved with, I can save those updates for later. But one I wanted to highlight briefly is the idea of NIFWIF and grant proposals that are going to in part address both downriver and upper Trinity fire footprints. And those are, again, I don't want to steal the thunder from Watershed Center if they are here and willing to speak to that, but I'm just trying to stress that Trinity County in this division is looking to be engaged with those types of fire related both response and prevention efforts. I did go to the crisis strategy meeting as well. I will say that land tender is just a tool. It's just meant to guide the Forest Service to the right locations. So when they're ready to roll that out for public comment more broadly, absolutely chime in to make sure that they're tabulating the correct data and figures that they need to. So that's all the notes I had at the moment. Other side conversations with BLM I'd like to continue, so please catch me before you leave. But yeah, any questions if you have them.
I just maybe one thing I skipped that ties in with David is I should probably have given you guys an update. We had a really great meeting this week with Denise Wesley, the GIS manager, about the evacuation route planning. And my understanding, and Skylar, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're looking at 3 maps. So one map is basically for the resident visitor, and it shows people where the roads are to evacuate. So, and it would try to convey that kind of information you're talking about. Is this a paved road, all vehicle road, or is this a road where there are potential hazards?
Weight restrictions, for example.
Yeah, there's a bridge, there's a 1 lane, so don't try to take your humongo RV. It's gravel or native, so there's a lot of risks potentially with low clearance vehicles. So she's trying to convey that information to someone who's trying to evacuate. Here's where the roads are, and here's basically the condition of the road. that's for the public facing map for the general public. There'd be a second layer, which is more for Lassen County Sheriff's Deputy that's showing up and helping evacuate, and it's showing driveways to residences. So it's showing if you got to evacuate people, this is where you need to go notify someone. So it's more like a not an egress kind of layer, but more an ingress layer for first responders trying to help with evacuation. And then the third layer was more identifying like planning stuff, like, okay, Coffee Creek Road, we need to plan for dealing with where it's sliding away, or we need to look at this community that only has one way in or out, and can we plan for adding another ingress egress, right? So that's kind of my understanding of where we left that meeting, right?
Yeah, I think that the planning component, we want to build into like the public facing maps and be able to say like, this is the only way in and out for this community. And like the road has slipped out, like we understand that we need to improve this road. The limitation right now is that that's just like, a lot of the information isn't in the GIS. So like we'll look and we'll see like the line and that is the road, but then we talk to community members or the VFD or county professionals and they're like, oh, well, that might be true, but people need to know that this is what the existing conditions are. So I would love to talk more about that and maintain dialogue to make sure that we have, like, we're envisioning having the roads not just labeled as like the main route, but like some way to convey like what the quality or condition of the road is. And if we don't think that it's as welcome, like to convey it and to make sure it comes across. So like if it's on the map, if it's on like also like some sort of like supplemental narrative to each map, because our current plan is to break down like every community into at least like 4 different like sections, broken down by the evacuation zone, so that community, like neighborhoods are kept together, and then showing from there, like what's the way out of this neighborhood. And then within that, showing what are the conditions of those routes. So it's kind of complicated, but happy to, converse and such.
Denise is doing an awesome job, but she's working with a really crappy data set. So like her data set, like this is a county road, Swift Creek Road, and it shows that it's paved the whole road. Well, I mean, Swift Creek Road is only paved for about half a mile. The rest of it is just gravel. So she's going to rely on the local fire departments and local people to say, this part's paved, but up here is where, you get to a certain point, but you need a high clearance vehicle. So she's going to be trying to collect information from us on, okay, what's the reality if someone has to evacuate?
So I don't know how far you want to go into that discussion because it's a good one, I think, but it occurs to me that reaching out to the Forest Service for their transportation plan and the condition of their existing roads as a potential egress for different communities, they may have good data for that. I'm sure you've gone to places like that, but I'm thinking of, say, Hennessy Ridge, which is listed as an evacuation route, if I'm not wrong, on past projects, but it's overgrown by brush, so you can't really use it. It doesn't become functional. Caltrans may be another location to go because the idea of highway closures and for rock slides, I'm thinking big French Gulch. I'm thinking of the Highway 3 slide that required, so that one on Highway 3 required the improvement of Slate Gulch, I think, which was an old Jeep trail that they had to go and improve in order to get any north-south connectivity. So they'd be very interested in the idea of improving certain roads to make sure for fire or otherwise that communities are connected. For the French Gulch slide, there was the idea of Corral Bottom of going that long distance. People were getting stuck in the snow. If you go to the north, there was a Forest Service road that was in bad shape and had some limitations on it. Yet that was the only detour. So they may be another resource that could otherwise assist in refining some of their needs for evacuation routes in general, not just specifically fire. So, yes.
Great information to have. Like, if anybody has any ideas, we're happy to include it within our planning and development.
But I sympathize, that's a lot of information to put on one map. I get the complexity of that.
So
a suggestion too. Out in the Indian Creek watershed, it shows an evacuation route that goes up, continues up Indian Creek Road to Bully Chew, and ties in with County Line South Road. I've driven that road a number of times, and depending on the time of year, you need to be able to check that out every year to make sure that's open. And I think if you have a list of roads and their conditions, you should have a date on when you check those out to make sure that's still the
Yeah,
current condition.
she was gonna put a symbol on the map that this gate is closed, in the winter because of, it's not a all year road.
Forest Service gate or something like that.
Yes,
They close
and so she was gonna
Yeah.
have different symbols, like, make sure you check on this road, so exactly what you're saying, and she's putting gates on the maps and everything, so, yeah.
I like that comment. Bully Shoop, is that what you said specifically?
Yeah.
So that's one example of a county road that's on the list of county maintained road miles, yet isn't really maintained because it basically goes nowhere. It's one of those many examples of kind of from, Trinity County to the North Valley of mule paths, basically, that eventually were improved, but never became part of an actual road system because the highway came into play and all that. There's plenty of history there. Deadwood Creek would be another example of a road that is county maintained, yet it essentially goes nowhere, yet can be useful for a community, perhaps Lewiston, given certain
For
circumstances.
evacuation, yeah.
So if tying into DOT again, but it was a different question, and that is their list of maintained road miles. And if any of those roads that are on that list, there could be a way to actually improve them or maintain them or otherwise monitor them year by year, like you're suggesting, to inform a map going forward. So Bully Shoop is a horrible road. Yeah, I mean, we had an excavator with DOT that, it had to park and walk up, I think, 4 miles or something just because it couldn't make it, which may be a similar case for anyone with any sort of trailer, horse trailer, etc.
Well, I drove it last year from Buckhorn all the way to my place on Indian Creek, and it took me 2 hours. I was in a pickup truck, and it was passable. There were rocks, big rocks, and places that I had to throw out of the road. But for a passenger vehicle,
right,
it would be pretty hard.
Found someone on Highway 3 that had to try to go to the IP road and took out her oil pan because she didn't realize it wasn't a road that is not meant for a small rental sedan.
Yeah, we had a lot of talk about that for evacuation from the North Lake. Do you list that Parks Creek IP road as an evacuation? It's got to have one that's got the big,
big Navy on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
So you've got Chris Lucy.
Chris, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was actually talking to Denise yesterday about the same thing that Carol was talking about. It's kind of funny, and Flora is definitely very interested in this issue. A lot of our clients are really, deal with these roads on a regular basis, and it's always kind of amusing when the culverts or the road surface and culverts on farms, because of the permitting process, is often at a much higher standard than the roads that you need to drive to get to the farm. So that's always kind of an amusing point. But yeah, Flora is definitely interested in collaborating on grants or other work to identify and come up with plans to deal with this access and egress issue throughout the county, because it affects a lot of people and a lot of our clients.
Okay, any other, let me leave off at David. Okay, so any other questions for David?
I was not on the evacuation routes, but on vegetation management. I was curious if there had been any conversation, because we sometimes get questions from the public about enforcement of the vegetation management ordinance, and I was curious if there's been like in internal, like within the county about enforcing that, or? Because the question that comes up is like, if like an organization like the RCD or Watershed Center has like funding to do fuel reduction. On, like, vacant. I'm gonna mute you, Bruce. If we have funding to do work on like vacant properties, or undeveloped parcels, like, is there something there so we can go in if not able to get in contact with like the property owner?
I hear that. Yeah, I don't, people online probably couldn't see me shift uncomfortably in my seat when you brought that up. So no, not a lot of conversation that I'm aware of, but I would like there to be.
The last conversations were ones that I had with former supervisor from the North Lake and the former CAO, and it was full speed ahead at that point. And then a supervisor didn't get reelected and the CAO retired.
Was that
Well,
Diego?
and,
Huh? Diego?
no, Groves.
Keith Grove.
But subsequent to that, so the fire department receives complaints all the time about, you know, okay, my neighbor's not sinning, is, you know, doing his job thing. And what we were told was to submit code enforcement complaint, and we have done that. And the code enforcement person has come out and talked to the person. You know, they haven't gone to the step of what the ordinance says, which is, you know, if you don't respond, then we would put a lien on your taxes. But it has resulted in results, because having the code enforcement person come out and say, look, if you don't clean this up, here's your potential fines, blah, 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 and here's what we're gonna do. So anyway, I just want to say that that's where we're at the moment, is we just fill out a code enforcement complaint.
Okay.
So people do tend to take note of that and then get the work done? When
Yeah,
someone
in the
just kind of shows
cases,
up,
in the cases where we've complained, and he's come out and talked to people. I mean, he's got way higher priorities. Sometimes it takes longer, but he's come out and talked to them, and it's, I'd say it's about 50%. One person died, so, but the other person cleaned up their act, so, yeah. And it's a tool.
So I know there's been some discussions around code enforcement, which there always are. Honestly, that's nothing new, but not specifically about the VMO, the vegetation management ordinance. I guess I would turn it around and ask you where you'd like the conversation to go. What should the county be thinking about doing, and how? Should it be one that's proactive or reactive? And if it's proactive, I don't know at the moment what that would look like. Even proactive to the point of revising that ordinance to either give it more teeth or to give it more holistic options to deal with particular locations and issues. So
That's what
you know,
were trying to do, was revise the ordinance.
No, just use the existing ones.
I thought the county council said they had to make certain revisions to collect the liens.
They were gonna, somebody was gonna give it to county council. I don't think that ever happened.
So I'll just say from my division, absolutely, that's a natural resource issue. I likely would need direction from Ed Presley, who's the deputy director of CDD, the Community Development Department, CAO, Trent Tuthill, for the board to focus on that and make that a priority. But if it's of an interest to the Fire Safe Council, and I would say writ large, or between, you know, the county and RCD, then we propose something. How about that? And let's try to get to your issue in some fashion, some use of that ordinance.
Is that fair?
Is that fair?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
no, and I think it'd be, my understanding is it's never like really been enforced, like outside of like putting in a code complaint. I guess that is.
Right, nobody's ever been, nobody's property has been treated without their permission and then been billed for.
And I guess the way that I like imagine it is, if we, like, if an organization has funding and it's like on a property that is like identified as a community priority, and we're able to like offer those services. So it's like everybody's happy, I guess, in some kind of way, that would be nice.
So just what hasn't worked is the fire department saying, we've got money.
Yeah.
Would you like the work done on your property? People just, they ignore it. So when code enforcement comes out and says, here's this ordinance that says this is a nuisance. And if you don't clean it up yourself, we'll hire somebody to do it, we'll bill it. That has worked.
And weren't there discussions with potentially having a MOU or something between the county and the RCD?
Yeah.
Where if you got to the point where someone wasn't doing the cleanup and the county needed someone to do the cleanup, they would hire the RCD?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm saying there was.
Oh, there
That-
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The discussion's got that far.
With the form.
Can I speak something regarding this? This
Sure.
is Heidi.
Yeah.
So I did have a brief conversation with the, they call themselves the Old Goats. They do a lot of brush removal around private properties in Western Trinity County. And they said that over last year, they had been approached multiple times by people who had gotten, complaints from their neighbors and folks who just knew that they needed to do something, yet they didn't have the funding to pay to have that work done. And so I asked them, on average, say you have a situation where maybe it's an elder or someone who has some handicap issues or whatever the reason may be that they can't physically do the work on their own, what is a number that would at least get like 50% clearance, with the understanding that there wasn't a bunch of cars and garbage and other stuff around the home as well, if it was just purely a vegetation situation. And they said that they could probably get a pretty decent clearance around a home, like I said, without a lot of garbage or what have you, for about $2,000 a house. And so that was something that, that number just kind of stuck in my head. Just having that knowledge is important, I think. And then also when we know people who are in need of such help, that's about the dollar amount that if they were doing the work that they would be able to charge to just get at least a decent 50 to 100 feet back. If, like I said, if there wasn't a bunch of garbage and stuff as well. So kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about when we have to ask people to do that, or we're telling people they need to do it, or we're looking for money to help people do it.
Heidi, is that just the grazing, the goats, or are they also out there cutting and piling and removing brush and stuff?
So the name of their work team is Old Goats. They don't actually use goats. They're referring to themselves as the Old Goats.
Darn. There used to be a goat company down in Junction City.
So they physically hand remove the vegetation and either burn it on site in small piles, or they physically remove it. They do a lot of work, Junction City, Big Bar kind of area. So anyway, that was the number that we had discussed standing in the parking lot at the Junction City store one evening. And when they were telling me about that, we needed to figure out a way to, help people, because that's what they're running into. Is a lot of the folks that can't do anything just simply don't have that extra $2,000 or $3,000 to have it done.
So Heidi, so a distinction needs to be made. So the county's vegetation ordinance was really targeted more towards undeveloped properties that don't have a house on them, because CAL FIRE has regulatory authority over defensible space, and they can enforce that on properties with houses on them. So this is the situation where there's a house, and there's two lots with nothing on them except really dense vegetation. And it affects the properties with houses.
Understood. Okay, sorry.
Because I think the RCD and the Watershed Center and Weaverville Fire, they're pretty good about getting money and having money to help people, who need to get the defensible space work done.
Well, but the problem with,
So we say that often, but yet when I drive around our communities, I don't always see that with my eyes. I mean, there's one thing, one of the problems that I feel like happens year after year after year is we get money and we do a good job. I'm not saying anybody's not doing a good job. We do a good job. Like my community benefited significantly from the RCD's funding that helped do roadside work. And there's a lot of good work out there. And we have the NRCS who can do stuff on large agricultural projects or ag land. But I'm still driving by communities where houses are engulfed in vegetation. And those communities, within those communities, whether it be in areas like on Patterson Road, in between Sire Heights and Willow Creek on the back, East Willow Creek Road, or whether it's up Tennessee or wherever, I'm still driving by communities where people who physically cannot cannot afford to have vegetation removed from around their homes are living in horrid fire danger. And so one of the things that I'm concerned about is I'm 100% appreciative and applauding and grateful for all of the work that has been done. We have this little gap, and we've had this gap for many, many years. Because I remember when we worked for the NRCS, we had a blowdown, and private landowners who owned like maybe 1 acre or a half an acre would have a ton of vegetation dropped on their property, and those people don't qualify for anything, but they don't have the extra $2,000 to have the work done. So that's just where my mind always goes, is how do we get to that group of the unserved? But I'm not saying we're not doing an excellent job in other areas. I'm just always thinking about that unserved, and this conversation triggered that thought. So I thought I would share it.
well, and I just want to add, so I think that maybe the assumption when the vegetation management ordinance was written was it was for undeveloped lands, but that's not how it's been used. That's not how we've used it. And the problem is CAL FIRE has the 4290 and 4291 Public Resource Code where they'll come out and they might inspect a house, they might red tag a house. They don't come back and see whether or not it has ever been implemented. Or most recently, their inspectors only work during non-fire season. And so because fire season is longer, the amount of time they're actually doing inspections has really shrunk per year. So we can't even get them. They were up in Trinity Center. The last time was 4 years ago, and we haven't been able to get them to come back because they just don't have the time. So what happens is we're using the vegetation management ordinance to get people to do the defensible space around their houses, because we can't get CAL FIRE to help us out there. Even though they want to, it's not working out.
Okay, so I have some ideas about how to address this, but an ordinance, county ordinance, is always going to be one of forcing someone to do something. And so I'd rather turn that on its head to find an opportunity. So,
well, like Pat said, though, we've gotten grants and we've offered money to people. We will come in and do this for free, and people are just like not.
You would need the county to act on it in order to help facilitate or fill that gap. Any ordinance, of course, or code enforcement issue is going to be complaint driven. And so again, I'd like to get out of that as well. I'd like to think bigger about this. So there's ways to address this. And so I'm offering again to make a proposal from anyone in this room, make a proposal, and that we can sit down and try to figure out what that would look like for your individual interests or individual projects. Specifically you, Heidi, if you had ideas or areas that you do have concerns about, I would have to again take that to my supervisor to try to figure out what to do about that. But it's going to start from a request. So I'm happy to do it. Now that we have a natural resources division, I don't know, but that may be why Supervisor Groves wasn't able to proceed, is because there wasn't a staff person that could do it. Theoretically, I can do it.
Maybe we can have this conversation offline, because the other piece of that I'm thinking of is what you're proposing is very kind and generous, and it comes at general fund dollars.
Okay.
What you need is for people to be motivated to take care of their stuff. And if a complaint with a little visit from code enforcement gets them to say, oh, I do need to take this seriously, and that's working, then that's a thing. Then if they realize, hey, I need to do it and I don't have money to do it, well, then there's direction toward people who do have funding who could do it. But I don't know, for government to solve the problem that people need to solve themselves. Yeah.
Sometimes ordinances can back you into that corner.
Yeah.
So, good conversation to continue.
Mhm.
And a good time of year to be thinking about it.
The Weaverville, patient transfer Weaverville.
Well, I will say that PUD, when they drop trees to prevent parents from fire lines, they leave the tree there. They'll take the,
I've
take the
gotten
limbs.
several complaints about that.
And that may be a component that's happening everywhere that also impacts property owners.
Not just PUD, but Caltrans.
Sure. Yeah. Any utility really or state agency.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hey, it's all right. Next on the list is county OES. So I am right now finishing up our Homeland Security grant request for the 2024 grant year. And we've got all the projects and everything. We're just waiting for approval on that. And then I will be sending out reminding departments of the request form that we use for people to be able to request for equipment, training, education, anything that we can hopefully add into the next grant cycle, which will start building at the end of this year. So we're kind of looking at February, March, April, May is kind of the season where we get the requests out and try and get everything in and hang on to them. I've already have requests. I've gotten some stuff from you, Carol, and kind of working with Sunny at with Beth to kind of divide it up. And that's where those forms are real handy too, is because we can look at it as a team and see what we can divide up amongst different. She's got a lot of other grant opportunities that I don't have. So when it comes to the medical side and things like that. So we did declare 2 disasters in this these last storms. We have, but it's the late January, early February storm is the main one. That one caused damage down in Mad River. But DOT did find some damage from a prior storm out on Campbell Ridge Road. There was a slip out there. We're working, so we did a second declaration at the same time for that. It's outside of the 10-day window for us to do the declaration, but we're working with CAL FIRE to see if, or not CAL FIRE, Cal OES to see if we can get it again. And we haven't heard anything back on that. We did have a preliminary damage assessment on Wednesday for the Mad River Road damage. But that turned out to be it's either on or off system. It's one of the FHWA, so it's not going to be eligible for federal funding, but we may still be able to get CDAA on that.
So on system.
Yeah, so it's on system. Okay. And that was something we brought up in a conversation yesterday about when we're doing these evacuation maps and things like that. If there's a way that we could add somewhere in there to list that if it's either on or off system roads. So when we do have damage, we can look at it right then and know if we're going to be trying to do a federal declaration on it, or if it's something we're just going to go for the state. But that's something I'm kind of working with Andy on.
With Andy, should be able to help you with that, those maps.
Yeah, so he had requested that, but we've also put together, Bree brought back up, and now I'm part of the Trinity County Drought Resilience Planning Assistance Program with Ed, myself, Mike Petoni, and Christy Anderson. And I just see that we did get approval on our our submission to have the company that's gonna be writing that plan for us. Is gonna be working on that.
Is Stantec?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know their next steps? I've been curious about that one.
I'll have to share the email with you, because I just saw, it just
Okay.
came up while we were sitting here, and it's just a letter saying that, DWR, whoever approved that, so for them to do the work, so.
What is that program?
That's,
More specifically.
it's the drought resiliency, planning assistance program. We had I guess every county in the state has to have a drought,
Task force, right?
like a drought task force, yeah, and so we have to draft up our plan, and there's funding for, was it Santec?
Stantec.
Yeah, so the idea that the state would give you a chunk of money if you're gonna write it yourself, or they'd give you a different pot of money if you're going to hire a consultant. And Stantec, I think, is their preferred
Yeah.
purveyor to consult with now Trinity County. We chose
Yeah.
that option, so it's
Yeah,
just kicking off that task force to identify vulnerabilities related to drought.
Yeah, which is really difficult when we were in the meeting and it was just pouring outside. And we're sitting here talking drought.
Dan Fraser would agree.
But as Ed said, he goes, every year's different, and we might as well plan now because we don't know what next year's gonna bring.
So like, I mean, is it things like, firefighting water resources? Is that like a drought resiliency component?
I've just gotten into it, so I really don't, I just attended this first meeting with the consultants, so I don't really know until they kind of write it up what,
My worry is more related to the security for water providers, so water districts. But I'm hoping that they're going well beyond that, in terms of wildlife and firefighting and a number of other drought-related concerns, even development concerns in particular areas. So
yeah.
I don't know the extent of the plan, but
They had a lot of questions when we were in the first meeting, but, and Ed, pretty much, handled most of that, but it did sound like it was a lot of, more water systems and not.
Also, I mean, potentially though, part of the planning would be like what we're doing, where we're trying to reduce fuels around
Yeah.
the water storage tanks so that storage tank, it doesn't burn down in a fire,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, I know up our way, there are certain, plans to expand the size of the water storage tanks, so anyway, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That would be great if that kind of thing
Yeah,
could be
I'd like
considered.
to I'll get a little more information in our next meeting to kind of,
I'm hoping there's a comment period for that because, my hope is that it goes well beyond, just providers, which of course is critical. But that the work that a number of groups, including RCD, Watershed Center, have done for water reliance and reliability is incorporated into their plan, both existing projects, past existing projects, but where you look to go in the future. And so I'm very hopeful that everyone's brought it.
No.
So what's the process on that? Is there input as you're working it or just a comment period when it's done?
I couldn't answer that, to tell you the truth. Like I say, this thing has been, this has been set up prior to even me coming on board. Like I say, maybe after this, we can look at this letter that they sent out and maybe it has a little more information on there that
Okay.
might answer your question.
Okay.
But yeah, this is all.
Hot off the press.
It's all Greek to me, yeah, hot off the press, right? Okay, so, Trinity County Planning, we don't have anybody from planning. Trinity County RCD. Where do we want to start? I don't think Bethany stayed on.
No, she's on that other call.
Yeah. Who else did we-
If I jump in for RCD, it's actually one thing I neglected to mention earlier, when I just said lots of projects, things to do, but specifically Bethany has been working on hazard trees in the August fire footprint. I feel bad, I didn't mention this before. She was even out there yesterday doing an initial assessment. So she has her own source of funding, a contract with the Forest Service to address hazard trees in that fire footprint. But there's a lot of pressure right now, and understandably and reasonably so, both from Supervisor Frazier, but Ted MacArthur, the forest supervisor for the Six Rivers, to do more and do it faster. And so I have been working with her, with Bethany, with the county GNA funds to try to do some shuffling to get the hazard trees dealt with in that footprint. And these will be on county roads that are on Forest Service lands. And going beyond the existing county right of way, which can be very limited, maybe 8 feet off of the edge of the road kind of thing, but going further to deal with problem trees. And she will be able to speak to this much better, of course, but I thought it would be of interest to this group. It's not going to be a Caltrans sort of cut where on Highway 36 they took everything. It's going to be one that's more selective in terms of what is deemed to be more an immediate threat to public health and safety. So that's something that we're hoping to implement. So,
And did you say that was using good neighbor authority?
in part, yes. So part of the reconnaissance that she would be doing yesterday was looking at how much it would cost, $500,000 or something like that, and having to come up with the funds that already exist in the Forest Service in different agreements and try to cobble something together. But that is based on, in large part, on the good work that RCD was already looking to do.
Do you have anything for me? Oh, yeah, sure. I've been doing a lot of work on the evacuation route classification, and Carol Paul, thank you very much. It's been helping me quite a bit on that. We just reclassed the evacuation routes to reflect the type of road and the management type. So we felt that that was really important. Also, I had a CAL FIRE egress ranking, and so I attached that to our data set and took a look at whether or not we could use that for egress ratings. And well, it was good and provided us some valuable data. We have a lot of gaps in there. So another thing, the next thing I'm doing is drilling down to look at routes that have one way in and one way out of the community. So that is really my priority area right now. I'm spending the bulk of my time on doing that. Also, I'm working on a story map for the CWPP update, and so we'll have something to present to folks at meetings coming up. I put together a animation of Trinity County Fire District over time, which is super fun. I can't wait to show you guys.
Oh, no, it's
where
depressing.
that's going. That's it for me.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions, GSS. Oh, we did have one other thing. I haven't received any new project updates, and if you have those, I'd like to incorporate them into our project viewer. So please send them to me if you have them.
So projects that have been done,
Projects that have been, we take completed, proposed, and planned projects.
What do you mean by project viewer? Is this something available to the public or?
It is available to the public, yes.
And you find it on the RCD website?
It's on the Fire Safe Council page, and you could also add your own proposed projects in there yourself. You can get in there and you can digitize them.
There you go.
Yes.
The GIS savvy.
Okay, do you have anything for RCD side?
No, I think I talked enough in my Fire Safe Council Coordinator update.
I don't think we have anybody on Miles. Okay, all right, well, we'll move on. Let's see, nobody from Trinity PUD, Snugly,
I think Dina had to leave early.
okay. UC Cooperative Extension. We did have somebody, Forest Service, Shasta Trinity, Keith? He's still on?
Kevin.
You know,
Yeah, we did.
he has it done. Okay. Forest Service 6 Rivers. Weaverville Fire. I was gonna see, Chuck, do you have anything you want to report out for Lewiston Fire in Weaverville's place?
We are working on a water tender grant. Currently, we're being helped by Martha from Junction City. I'll be meeting with her right after this. Continue that. I'm working with Miles on, I'm also the neighborhood ambassador for the Salt Flat area in Lewiston. And we're going to be looking at secondary egress. So we'll be getting together to do that. 27th, I'll be joining them also at the Lewiston Elementary School to provide fire truck for their tour and to speak to the kids. And In June or July, we should have a new command vehicle for Lewiston. It's being paid for through Sparkies and through the district. And then Philip was able to get us a grant also for the lights.
Yeah,
and sirens
they'll
and stuff.
outfit it for you,
So we're excited about that.
or at least help with it. We'll see how.
Right, it's gonna help. That's about it for me.
Okay,
You guys will be at the community plan meeting.
Yes, I'll be there.
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Lewiston Fire Basho?
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to chime in on the Six Rivers and Shasta T update since they were not here. But 2 weeks ago, they gave a giant presentation here in Willow Creek. Tara from Big Bar Ranger was there, as well as a lot of fuels and fire folks from Six Rivers. They elevator pitched land tender to the Forest Service by way of watershed hay fork, and then delineated almost 1 million acres in the Shasta Forest Health and Fire Resiliency. I guess it's called the Trinity Wildfire Crisis Strategy, or the Trinity Landscape Wildfire Crisis Strategy. A guy named Corey Lewis is running herd on that. But yeah, they went over 960,000 acres within Trinity County in Shasta T that were going to be covered within this fuels reduction program that they have planned over the next 10 years. So I just feel like that's pertinent to know for your situational awareness. Thanks.
Thank you. Great information. Okay, Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, Sophia.
Did you want to, does Bethany have a RCD update?
I can, if you would like, for the offers.
Sophia, did you want to?
I was going to defer to Gina Moon on that one to give the update.
Is she still on with us?
I am.
There you are.
Yeah, I am. I enjoy listening to everybody else. There's a lot of great information. I have a few announcements, and then I'm going to defer it back over to Sophia because I'm very thankful, and she's been busy with this the last 2 months and very helpful with some future stuff, building our crew capacity. But some of the announcements I do have is one of our fundraisers, annual St. Patty's dinner, is March 15th. If you find your way down Willow Creek on a Friday night. And if you missed that, you can join Saturday there at the church where they have their corned beef luncheon or dinner also. But then we have our big Firewise fair on May 18th. So be looking for an invite. Our coordinator for that will be Olivia. She's on it with the emails and just keeping up with things that pertaining to our CWDG grant that's coming up. We're still, our community, I believe, is still trying to learn the OES, the zone haven and that kind of stuff. And both counties, code red alert. So there's a lot of things to just re-educate our community about. And we attended that partner meeting also with the Forest Service. It was a lot of great information. For us, it's just keeping up, building our crew capacity because there is so much going on. I really am thankful for both Humboldt and Trinity County RCDs and at the county levels. There is just, for this Fire Safe Council to continue to build the crew capacity, it's needed. Our evacuation routes, like you all are speaking about, our 435 road, which is Forest Service, which is a county road, which is, and I guess one other thing that I didn't speak up earlier, and it probably doesn't pertain to evacuation routes, but some of the fires last year, that South Fork Mountain, I would like to see, and it's probably a different time to talk about it, but out at the end of the South Fork Road, it's SFT 500. People were getting confused in the Willow Creek area thinking that the South Fork County Road was affected, and we're not. I wish we could be like lower South Fork, add an L somehow, or just identify us because we are downriver. We are the furthest downriver in this county. And but yeah, there is a lot of good things, tours with upcoming different projects. And I may have missed something, but again, I am just very thankful for all of our partners. And I'm pretty sure Sophia has some more good stuff to add. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gina.
Yeah, Gina covered a lot of it. We have been excited about partnerships with, the Trinity County RCD and the Fire Safe Council. And I would love to get in touch with you, Heidi, about, continuing to identify areas in Salyer and downriver that we can kind of bring funds and support our community members by providing fuels reduction and home hardening and some of that work that people aren't able to execute on their own. So I don't have like a ton of solid plans yet, but we've been doing a lot of brainstorming, identifying funding sources, and are excited to be moving forward on some of those partnerships. Thanks, guys.
All right, Sophia, thank you. So Bethany came in. We were going to just drop back real quick to RCD and see if Bethany had
Yeah, I have a few
report out.
We've been very busy. We have 2 fuel crews on this winter. And they've been working mostly in the basin up near Highway Bend, doing fuels reduction on a couple of units up there, as well as burning with partners. And then we've also been working on the fuel breakup on Browns Mountain. We were burning up there last week. Currently finishing marking on the Oregon Mountain Timber Sale, a little BLM sale up on Democrat Ridge. I drove down to Kettenpom area yesterday to look at post-fire hazard tree removal. We're getting moving on that, likely to get a contract out in the next couple months to take out some of the hazard trees along county roads in the August complex. So that's like on the Ruth Senior Road and the Van Dusen Road. Pretty bad down there. I know we can hear it, but it was good to go look at that again. We're staffing up for the season. We just finished interviewing fuels technicians. We'll be bringing another 8 back on in early March if the weather allows, and then also hiring for forestry technicians to come back a little later if you know anyone. And grateful to the Watershed Center to be putting a whole bunch of staff through S212 and Basic 32 in the next few weeks. So excited about that.
Cool.
Do you know when you would hear back on the Forest Health grant application?
One of the women that works for Cal Fire Forest Health was at the Forest Service meeting last week. She said March or April, which is much earlier than it has happened before. So I don't totally believe that, but that'd be great.
That would be great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we've also we put that CWDP proposal in for the Burnt Branch, Big Bar, Big Flat area, and we heard back from them that I would expect also around March.
But the Trinity Roads partnership, that was part of the Forest Health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other project questions for me?
Any questions for Bethany? Okay, seeing none, last but not least, Quaylen, the watershed.
Hey, everybody. I'm gonna have rather poor internet connection. I'm gonna leave my video off in hopes that you can hear me instead of see me. Yeah, update. The biggest thing that's new for us is over the next 4 months, we're gonna be hosting Prescribed Burn Association workshops in various communities around the county. For folks that aren't familiar with it, prescribed burn associations are predominantly neighbors helping neighbors implement anything from a pile burn to a small broadcast burn on private land. And it's all volunteer. Currently, I believe there's 21 counties that have PBAs existing. There's a PBA that has formed in Hyam a little over a year ago. And it looks like we're going to be starting in Junction City this coming 9th and 10th in March at the Junction City Park. And folks from downriver, Burnt Ranch, Big Bar, Susie Q, are invited to that one. That's going to be the closest PBA 101 workshop to your area. Most of these areas we're going to be starting with first day with 101 workshop, talking about laws, practices, and liability, the California Burn Boss and state insurance program, the benefits and drawbacks to prescribed area and different fuel types, the histories of PBAs nationwide, side effects of broadcast burns, fire regimes for different fuel types and landscapes. Yeah, and I think our second day, we're going to be hoping to do 5 different site visits per area that we're doing these workshops in, to talk through, how would we prep this land? What kind of treatment do we think would have the desired effect that we're looking for in these different areas, using 5 different parcels for different examples. Lewiston will follow up Junction City. That's going to be April 4th, the weekend of April 4th. Douglas City, we're going to be looking for a location out there to host this the weekend of April 27th. Hayfork will be the weekend of May 18th, and Trinity Center, Coffee Creek, sorry, will be the weekend of June 9th. The Hyam Pond PBA has been going for a little bit over a year now. We make a joke out here. I'm from Hyam Pond that, we're the PBA with drip torches and pitchforks. We're pretty limited in the equipment that we have, but in that time, with the support of the Watershed Center, we've been able to implement 5 burns, putting good fire down on a total of 37 acres. And also, as a PBA, we were able to prep about 78 acres we have ready to go for this spring burn window, with SMPs in place. We'll see what the weather offers us on that front. And there is a possibility that the Fire Learning Network could send some funding our way for supplies to support PBAs if communities are interested in moving forward with the formation of a PBA, just to help with some of those, overhead costs of the expensive fire equipment that it takes to work prescribed burn or even a pile burn, drip torches and stuff. We all know how expensive that stuff is. In general, zooming out a little bit for just the Watershed Center, outside of our PBA development program, we're continuing supporting with TCRCD and the Forest Service on pile burns around the county. We have approximately 300 acres, largely in Weaver Basin on Jackass Ridge, that is prepped and ready for broadcast burning. If we get a good window in there, we're going to be moving into there this spring. We also have a little bit of land prepped in the Hayfork area for broadcast burning as well. We're wrapping up with our current NIFWIF funding, and we will be applying for more soon, supporting Forest Service with burn operations. And then in addition to that, this coming week, we're hosting the S212 basic chainsaw, fireline chainsaw use. After that, we'll be doing our annual refresher, the RT130, and we're looking at about between 80 and 90 participants in that. So excited to be hosting that many people in local organizations, fire departments, refreshing their basic firefighter to firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and continuing to work with us and do good work in fire suppression around the county. After that, we're going to be hosting our basic 32, which I think we have about 30 more local participants that will be becoming firefighters in the next month. That's all I have for now. there any questions?
Questions for?
Megan, do Watershed Center?
Yeah.
Do you have any updates,
Megan? Yeah, she goes.
Yeah, I'll chime in. There's really just like a mind-boggling amount of work getting done, so I'm sure I'm not like nailing all of these details. And Xander and Randy are both not here, so I'll do my best to summarize kind of some more of their projects going on. So I was helping them with CWDG outreach, specifically in Hyam Palm over the winter, and we sent out 93 mailers to landowners. And the purpose of that is really to talk directly to those private landowners, get permission to assess their properties, remove vegetation, fire harden their homes, really make prescriptive land specific treatments for their properties, with the hopeful goal of eventually being able to use fire as a tool after mechanical thinning has been completed. And there's a lot of money. There's like nearly $7 million going toward a huge like interagency, multi-agency project, removing fuels on South Fork Mountain, Pelletreau Ridge, and the Trinity Timberlands in holdings in that area. So that's a big deal. That's coming up. And there will be a press release eventually that's made available to read more about that as soon as we get approval from the Forest Service on all of our wording and verbiage. Yeah, there's going to be more work being done in Hayfork, kind of expanding on a project that has been ongoing over years for thinning and burning, some wildwood fuels reduction. But yeah, we're just excited to keep bolstering the workforce and developing it. I know we've got one extra saw crew hired this year compared to last year. We've got like 16 botany techs that are going to show up this year, which is massive. They're all going to be hand pulling and manually removing weeds and in burned areas and along roadsides in a bunch of places. So that's really exciting. And yeah, it's just great that we're going to have more firefighters and more PBA members and just more people stepping up and taking care directly of their landscapes. Oh, and we are putting out we're soliciting contracts for replanting in Mad River. So if you know amazing tree planting outfitters, please direct them to our contracting page on our website, because we're hoping to plant lots of trees this spring in the August complex footprint. And then something fun, Skylar, specifically for you. I only just had this idea today, literally during this meeting, that maybe I can approach Ellen and just ask her if, I don't know what the schedule is, but we have the Fire Music project that's going on, so maybe the Firewise Fair would be a good place for them to do a small concert, some type of musical interlude. So I will reach out and ask her. There might be stuff already scheduled, so I make no promises, but I just thought that could be a really cool, like, classical music fusion fun fair event. But okay, yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell for me. So
Thank you, Megan. Okay, that's everybody on the list. Do we have anybody in the room that last any report outs? Anybody that going once? Anybody on? I think we covered everybody on online.
I'll take a go back to just give a quick
Sure.
summary of the meeting I was just in
Oh,
for the
sure.
last hour and a half, which was the North Coast Resource Partnership. They're getting a big pilot block grant from CAL FIRE. Their area is large, but includes Trinity County. So for people who haven't worked with NCRP, it's like Del Norte, Humboldt, Mendo, part of Sonoma, and Trinity. And I might be missing some little slivers, so we'd be within the eligible landscape for that grant. This was a presentation on their kind of ranking tools, which will go into where that money ends up being allocated. And they have a story map up on their website, and they're taking feedback right now on the data that they've used. So I'll give it to Skylar to send out in the next Fire Safe Council newsletter. It's been up for a while, so folks may have looked at it, but I know they're actively doing that right now.
I had asked them, yeah, I mean, this kind of modeling tool that they're gonna be, yeah, I said, you know, you're doing that presentation at the same time as our Fire Safe Council. And they went, okay, well, we're gonna record the
They did
Zoom,
record,
so
yeah.
yeah, we can go back and listen to it.
Yep.
Awesome.
I don't know where they're posting it, but I got the you're being recorded thing, so.
Okay,
Looked like this part of Trinity is like bright red on their priority maps for reasons that we don't know, but.
yeah, okay, good. I'll listen, I'll find it and listen to it, because I was like, I can't be two places at the same time.
I tried to do both Zooms, it was not working.
No,
Give it a shot.
yeah,
Okay, do we have any future discussion items that we want to put on next month's agenda? Any
Drought
ideas?
resilience plan.
Okay, a little more information on that.
do we want to kind of follow up on David's, like, discussion on how to actually implement the vegetation management ordinance? I mean, where do we amend it? Do we have the Fire Safe Council approach the county about, you know, like I said, where we were at before with the implementation by the OCD or something like that? I'm just trying to, it kind of is getting left hanging, and I don't know how to proceed on that.
So people looking at me,
Bernard, so.
Yeah.
Just an item.
defining the problem, I think would help and what the request
Discussion.
is. Like I mentioned earlier, what is the proposal? And even with the Watershed Center's report out of 90 letters, I think, to Hayfork area for that block grant and individual property owners. Are they having more luck, or is there, what is the need and where is it? And then try to decide what to do about it. So that becomes a roundtable to hone in on that. I'm fine with that, absolutely. Having the Fire Safe Council behind the request to the county adds weight, so that gets more attention than me just complaining about things. Right?
Okay. All right, next meeting will be March 28th, right here, same time. And make sure that everybody got signed in on the sign-up sheet. Other than that, I believe we can adjourn for today. Thank you all very much for being here online.